Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Heaven Knows What from 2015. And this was a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. This winner was selected by William Ellman. I think the one context I should set up in terms of any other review is this is the Safdie Brothers movie, and I'm seeing this movie after having seen Uncut Gems and Good Time, which very much, I think, changes the perspective on this, whereas if the other reviews, which happened before those movies, as this is the film they made before Good Time, as this is a little different from those two. Those two are crime movies. Those films are very tense and get to a real reality of the kind of dirt and grime of New York and stuff. But they're much more, about crime and schemes and all these things. And although there's that in here, this is not, I think, his trademark. The director trademark we think of with Good Time and Uncut Gems is not as evident here. This is, I think I had an editing teacher who talked about there's certain directors who, as soon as they had a hit that really pops, their auteurism suddenly becomes that hit that really pops. At the time, he actually used M. Night Shyamalan as an example, as his previous two movies before The Sixth Sense are nothing like it. I don't know if that's necessarily true, or it's like they finally got to do the things they wanted to, but it's an interesting idea. This is more about a girl played by Harley, who's actually based on a real-life woman who was a homeless heroin addict in New York City. We see as the movie starts, she threatens to sort of kill herself in front of her boyfriend, who's also homeless, after he dumps her, and she's so distraught. Or she goes into a psychiatric hospital, and you see her kind of this loose tale of what her life's been like since getting dumped from this guy, getting heroin, staying in places where she can do heroin at homes or shelters or wherever, and the ins and outs of where her life takes her, basically. There's a lot of things that this film does which I think are really interesting, but it does feel like previous New York drug movies, like I guess it's Panic at Needle Park with Al Pacino. Very much so. It has a very kind of realist kind of view of it, but also in that kind of like vague way of, sort of kind of like in the guise of like being kind of stuck in this crazy lifestyle. And even the music, which is done by Ariel Pink and Paul Grimston, amplifies that whole idea. I've heard, I think Kermode calls it like this movie feels like a headache or something, and he meant that as a compliment, but I do feel like this film is like, and I felt this about Nora, which I at least reviewed recently, where you feel like you're so in with the protagonist and their viewpoint, you almost like want, in this one I think you want to get out of it. In that one I was reminded of a past. In this one you're like, I am stuck and she is stuck and there's absolutely no way out of it. I honestly think is a very good example of a drug addict narrative. The Safdies found her actually while they were doing research. I believe it was for Uncut Gems, which they were trying to make at the time and didn't happen, while they were like doing pre-production, and then eventually became it, which is kind of interesting. I do find when I saw it was the Safdies, I expected maybe something that this film wasn't. I didn't really look up this film very much, other than it was like, oh, it's the Safdies, I think I know them. I am taken aback by how I think, not that, to understand their auteurism or understand them as, since auteurism is just French for author, they're trying to say are who they are cinematically, or what how they write and everything like that. Because this was not just written by her; it was written by Josh Safdie and Ronald Bronstein. It's interesting to me when you're not stripping away the crime stuff, because the crime stuff hasn't. Because it seems to me they did a different thing before they did the tense crime thing. In this, you still get like the desperate characters, the sad life that they're stuck in. You get all of that without that, and it does feel like they were developing themselves on one layer before they put that other layer on, and you kind of realize how much was in the first layer that you didn't realize before. I was like, wow, all these characters are so rich. All the acting is really great. All the casting is really great. I actually, although I really like Ariel Holmes, who also stars in this film and is really good and very captivating, like I totally understand why they thought she was really cool to make this movie about her, and her story is interesting and stuff like that. And she does feel like someone who you'd be like kind of almost like staring at across the room. She has a very like kind of like perfect kind of face for that. You're inquisitive, in a way. She feels like a little dear lost, but almost in a very captivating way, which is, I think, a hard thing for a lot of people to do. But also Caleb Landry Jones, who I don't think I've thought that much about beyond, like, he was a Banshee in the X-Men prequels and he was in Get Out and stuff. But I was like, man, he is a total piece of shit in this movie, but he is really, really good at this role. I was actually kind of shocked at how good he was in this movie. It was like a part of him I never knew existed. I really think we've underestimated what he can do as an actor, because he really did a great job in this. A real horrible person, but he really did a great job. I do think this kind of shows the hopelessness, the kind of small community of these things. I knew kids like this, not necessarily in New York, it's sort of a different animal, but in Baltimore, and you just sort of get like wrapped up in the cult of personality in a lot of ways. But in some ways I thought that about this film initially, because that was my relationship with people like that when I was a kid or a teenager and such. But as I watched this movie, I realized, like, her boyfriend, who she's devastated by, he is the actual cult of personality. She is very genuine and real, and it seems like she's sort of like balancing around trying to survive with her own addiction around all these big personalities, and kind of like almost like is at home to it and has comfort in it, but is also, you can tell it absolutely isn't working. It's both a chronicle of this lifestyle, but also a condemnation of it, because it's really hard to watch this film and not feel uncomfortable. It's almost like in the making of it. It feels like, I think when I was really into Scorsese as a teenager, my parents and their friends when I rave about Raging Bull, they would always say, like, I don't want to spend 2 hours with an asshole, which I should have responded like, well, I've been sitting here 2 hours with you and I'm fine. But I think there's an element to that isn't something that bothers me. I think narrative, sometimes it is interesting to follow someone you don't like, and I don't like a lot of people, so there's a lot of movies I've seen with people I don't like. But in this movie, it is purposely uncomfortable. It's purposely like you don't like these people, and it's made in that way, but you're not supposed to like these people. That's not the point, I think, or that is the point, that you're not supposed to like them. I think this is a really interesting film. I don't like it as much as I like Uncut Gems and Good Time. However, I did like discovering more about a director through this. And sometimes you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of the piece. I sort of get that. When you see a movie from a director you like, or directors in this case. With this film, I feel like I understood more of like where their baseline is and how fascinating that was. And maybe I underappreciated the two films I like from them, because I didn't understand what was there underneath. I think this is a smart, interesting movie. It's a difficult film if you don't want to watch people just like be horribly addicted to heroin in New York in the winter, which looks about as appealing as this is in this movie. I enjoyed this film. I don't think it is up there with their other films. I think they really hit their peak with Good Time and Uncut Gems, or at least from the three films I've seen from there. So I have not seen anything before, but it's interesting to see where they came from. Do I think like maybe Good Time or Uncut Gems, that all came together, and it almost feels like they're trying to build up to Uncut Gems to become something, and then it did. But especially hearing about through this, because they found her because she was doing odd jobs for people in the jewelry district, is how they met Ariel Holmes, who even had a hard time, tried to clean up and everything, and then went back because she liked the transient lifestyle, which I think that's part of this film. Is like she hates these people, but she likes these people, but it's part of her. And I think she's processing throughout this film, throughout this narrative, like whether she, I think, is necessary, but also through, I think almost the boyfriend, Ilya, played by Caleb Landry Jones, almost plays that way. It's like she loves him, but like it doesn't really make any sense. Like, why would you want to do this? And why would you want to do this? But it almost makes it a compelling reason of her world and her security is in it, while it also shows that it is like completely unsustainable and horrible to live through. as well as like captivating to see someone be able to keep doing it day in and day out. I think the Safdies get the hard life of America, and especially in one of the wealthiest cities in the world, and like navigating that with, you know, an addiction and absolutely no money. It's interesting seeing them navigate someone who has like nothing and using that nothing just to get drugs is depressing as all hell, but I think it's like something that they are able to show through their kind of like, you know, very down-to-earth kind of realism, like I guess neo-realism in a sense, but I almost think it's very 2000s because of all the digital noise and the environment they're going through. But I think that's honestly where it starts from. This is I think it is a very good movie. I don't know if there's much more to say. I think drug addiction films, you know, you have your like very surreal ones, you know, Requiem for a Dream and stuff, and then you have the ones that are very much like, this is what it's like, man. It's hard and it's awful, and like I've seen so many of them, I don't know if I 100% differentiate them. I think Panic in Needle Park is like good, like this is, I'd say, on par with that, but I don't think either are films I think I've seen Panic in Needle Park like maybe twice, but I don't really love to live in that world, because they don't love to live in that world, and I don't think this film wants you to want to live in that world, but you're kind of stuck in it with this, you know, loud digital noise of music and cinematography. I believe it was shot on video at least. But this is, I think, was a fascinating avenue to go down. A missing piece from two directors' filmography that I didn't know I was missing. And it's interesting to rethink them and think about this and think about the life that everyone in this film is trapped in. So if you have seen Heaven Knows What and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. And this was a winner of the Patreon movie review vote. If you would like for me to review a movie of your choice, then click on the link below and pledge, and maybe I'll be reviewing your movie next month. Thank you very much for watching.